Can we just take a second and talk about birth control and the effects that it has on a woman's body? Not all side effects of birth control are bad, and not every person reacts the same to every birth control, and even yourself taking the same birth control, it doesn't always react the same to you either. Birth control helped me with my migraines. Birth control had helped me with my periods in the past. But as my body changed, so did the way birth control worked for me. I have been on and off birth control since I was 16, taking it all the time except when I was pregnant. In the beginning, I only saw its advantages. It helped me with my periods, made them a normal length, took away my migraines, helped me with my cramping, all of that. Wonderful, great experience. After having my second child, while it still helped my periods to be shorter, I started having awful periods. I started having pregnancy-like symptoms every single month. Thought I was pregnant, consistently taking pregnancy tests. It was awful. Then after having 3 kids, I was like, I'm done. I'm going to get my tubes tied. So I got my tubes tied and then started having 14-day long periods. Now, of course, the solution to 14-day long periods was birth control. I have high blood pressure, so I was told that the only birth control I could take was the ones that stop you from having a period. I got my tubes tied to avoid having to take a daily pill. But in this situation, 14-day long periods or no periods. I think the choice was kind of obvious. So I had been on this type of birth control before, and that's what I was put on when my periods got really bad after my second. And I wasn't on it super long before I decided to have my third and had stopped taking birth control altogether. But it didn't help me the first time. Like, it took my periods away, and it took them away right away. The first time I started, like that first month, my periods were gone. But it didn't help with the symptoms. Around the time that I should have had my period, I was still having the same symptoms every month. And now I'm not having a period on top of it, so now I'm really like, oh my God, am I pregnant? This time, however, it didn't help my periods. It didn't take them away. It didn't stop them. I was still having 14-day long periods while on birth control. The difference was it made it worse. My cramping was worse. I felt like I was being gnawed on by a piranha. And I was just, it was awful. And more than anything, the worst 2 side effects that I had was extreme nausea. Like, there were days where I could not eat. I was so nauseous. And it sent me into a state of depression unlike anything I've ever been in my entire life. I have depression, and it can get pretty bad sometimes. I can have lack of energy, not want to do anything, like crying, upset, angry, mad, all the time. But those bouts of depression are typically short-lived. They only last for a little while and go away. While I was on this birth control, it was every single day for the 2 months that I was on it. It was absolutely miserable. Like, I was so angry all the time. I had no energy. I got so far behind on everything that I needed to do. My kids were constantly, like trying to make sure that they didn't upset me because they knew I was going to get very like angry and yell or be like, oh, I'll just do it myself, whatever, because I was in such a state of depression, like I could not function. So I had messaged my doctor and they were like, oh, well, typically, we tell you to wait 3 months, and that's when side effects normally like go away and when it starts to actually like affect your periods and whatever. They're like, but if you don't think you can handle it, you can go ahead and get off of it, and then at your next appointment we'll discuss where to go from there. And that day I was like, I'm done. I cannot take this another day. I cannot go through this again. And like all medicine, it took a minute to get out of my system, but like, oh my God, I feel like a completely different person now. Like, I have energy. I have my motivation back. I am happy again. I am not living every day in depression. And now the thought of if they try me on a different kind of birth control, like, scares the crap out of me. Like, I'm gonna tell them no. I will deal with 14-day periods for the rest of my life if I never have to experience that ever again. And that's just my personal experience. I know people who have gained weight. I know somebody who said they gained, like, they were getting the shot and they were gaining like 3 pounds a month on the shot. and losing that weight. They could not lose it when they were on the shot, and getting off of it and trying to lose it was extremely difficult. It can cause your hormones to be all out of whack. It can cause just like crazy side effects. But at the same time, we can't make choices on what happens with our own body. We can't decide to just go get our tubes tied if we want, because there's all these stipulations. People want to push birth control on us, and the majority of them have never been on birth control, or if they have, they've only had positive side effects. Now again, this isn't to just shed bad light on birth control, because there are many side effects, and birth control is very positive and effective for a lot of women. For me in the beginning, it really was. I was on birth control prior to having my first, and then I got off for a little while, ended up getting pregnant, and then got back on it, and it never failed me. I never got pregnant while I was on birth. But at the same time, we need to talk about all aspects of it. We need to talk about the risks and the positive things, not just the positive. And not just the risks either, because everything in life has a risk-reward system, and you just have to decide what is best for you.